75% of consumers now in the UK, want businesses and products to be doing more for the environment. I think it's actually on businesses to make it possible for individuals to, live a sustainable life.
Yeah.
We kind of need to bring in the sustainability layer in a really meaningful way. It's our belief that actually businesses who don't take this seriously are kind of going to potentially get left behind.
So welcome to the Small Business Sessions, Will. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's great to be here.
No problem. So we're going to be talking about Ocean Bottle, which is your reusable bottle brand, which of course you have it with you. Always carry the product. Take me back. That's what you always do in these things. Where did it all begin? How did it happen?
Yeah, so I think inspiration often comes from quite a few different places, but there was definitely one moment that kind of stuck out for me. And I did a year as a deckhand. So I don't know if you've ever watched Below Deck, but it was basically like that.
Yes, right.
It was a great year. Missed it a lot. But one of the elements was really kind of just seeing firsthand the side effects of plastic consumption. So the owners on the boat that I worked on bought something like 1,000 Evian bottles just to drink on their holiday.
Right.
And I was the one, pouring them out, crushing them, putting them in a black bin bag, and then they'd get burnt on an island called Tilafushi in the Maldives. So yeah, just seeing that was pretty wild. And I had a friend studying microplastics, just lots of different things that kind of came together. So yeah, when I came back to London, I really wanted to do something about ocean plastic.
Now that is because we hear about it, but actually, seeing it like that, particularly seeing it burning, that must have been a real.
Yeah, it's quite surreal because you got the pristine turquoise water that's just like the most beautiful environment you've ever seen, and then you've got the sort of smouldering plastic just sort of running off into the ocean on the side. And it was that year around then as well that Blue Planet 2 launched with David Attenborough, which was the real aha moment for people. So we just saw that, people wanted to do something about ocean plastic, but just didn't really know where to start. And so that was the idea behind this.
Nice. So you said you got back to London, you had this idea. How did you, it's a product business. So you've got to create a thing, to make it happen. So what did you do to create that thing?
Yeah, so it's a physical thing. And for those that don't know, we're a consumer impact brand. That really exists to enable individuals to be part of a global solution around ocean plastic. So for every single ocean bottle that we sell, we fund a collection of 11 kilos of ocean-bound plastic, which is equivalent to 1,000 plastic bottles. So it's quite a lot.
Yeah.
And we do that by investing in collection projects in coastal communities all around the world. And yeah, we recently hit a new milestone, which is we've collected 20 million kilos of plastic so far.
Amazing.
About 2 billion bottles.
Wow.
It's a lot for a London startup.
Yeah.
It's a drop in the ocean in terms of the scale of the challenge. So lots more to do.
Yeah. So how did you go about getting it created? Because it's a high end luxury product, I guess, isn't it? But how did you go about getting it actually created as a product? Yeah,
so we knew when we started we wanted to have a product that had loads of impact, and they kind of really led with that within the category and beyond. But we also knew that we had to have a really great product if it was going to work. So we kind of based the business on those two USPs, sort of impact and design. So we spent I'm actually half Norwegian as well as English. And we spent a year and a half designing and developing the bottle in Oslo in Norway.
Okay.
Unbelievably, we spent 3,000 hours doing it, which if you're in the design world is a hell of a lot.
Right.
On a bottle, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, we really put the effort in. And I think it's been worth it because people actually use it, they enjoy it, and they kind of have it every single day.
Yeah. How are you funding that then? How are you funding the product? Because, that can be a costly...
Yeah, it can be really expensive to do. So, when you're starting out a business, one of the biggest challenges is you've got no resource. So you're doing everything yourself. And we were really lucky to find a few great partners in that first year. So one was this Norwegian design agency, crazy designer called Marius, who's an absolute legend. And they backed the concept, they got behind it. And so they actually invested in the design themselves. And then we did a sort of royalty model with them.
Right.
So that works really well because we didn't have the funds to do that. So they kind of, got involved that way. And then we onboarded our plastic collection partners. So it was all kind of built through different partnerships really at the start.
How did you find that design agency? Was that just through networking, or was it someone you knew? Or because that was a great tip, isn't it, for other other product people?
Yeah. So I'd actually, funny enough, because I'd grown up in Norway for about 10 years. And so I did an internship with that company. So it's funny that, this is how things come about. Yeah. So I did an internship. I think Marius was quite impressed with what I did and, didn't screw up everywhere. And so I suppose, kind of backed the idea and got behind it.
Right. It's always keep contacts.
Yeah.
Always keep in touch with people.
I still remember that phone call. I remember calling him up and said, I've got this idea. What do you think? And he shot off into sort of all sorts of other tangents, but we luckily landed on that one in the end.
Yeah. So do you want to talk about the design of the product? Like, why is it different to other bottles? What is it that's in the bottle, like visually, and because you've got a balance, haven't you? The cause, and as I said, it's a luxury product to some extent.
Yeah, it's definitely a premium product. I mean, I think 96% of our customers buy it for the impact, so they say, but if it didn't look good and if it wasn't good, they probably wouldn't get it in the first place. Yeah. So we've kind of focused on three things. So one was actually aesthetics. We really wanted something that looked great and people wanted to use and not get bored of. The second one was functionality. So it was actually the first insulated bottle. So it's a thermos bottle, keeps your drinks cold or hot. But it was also the first insulated bottle that you could put in the dishwasher. So it actually made it, easy to clean. And then just, loads of sort of neat little features that kind of add up to making a good experience. And then the whole product system as well is actually modular. So you can swap out, your lid to something else if you want to have like the coffee lid or the sip on the go, so straw lid, everything's kind of compatible. And then finally as well, actually, we added in an NFC chip in the bottom of every single bottle since the beginning. And that really means that every product has a unique identification number. So it's kind of like, it's basically like an Oyster card or like a hotel room card that kind of sits in the bottom of your bottle. But what that allows us to do, or you to do, is to register the bottles through your app and actually track your refills. And then we fund more plastic collection for you for free with every single refill. So it's kind of a way for you to, not only track your hydration and health, but also be part of a kind of continuous impact journey. So we just relaunched that a few months back. Right. And it's still quite basic. Like, we're going to be developing a lot more features, but people seem to be using it, which is
really
great.
That really makes them buy in, doesn't it?
Definitely.
And it obviously keeps them, on board, might buy more, which is a business at the end of the day as well.
Well, that is a tough thing. We've designed them to last as well.
That's a good point,
so
actually. Yes, I suppose there isn't a lot of repeat.
Not really.
No,
but once you're in, you're in. Exactly. They might gift someone.
Yeah, you're in for life. That is a point, though, on a product like that, isn't it? I guess you're constantly then having to get more customers, aren't you? Because there isn't much repeat.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be surprised though. I think people will get a water bottle for sort of that use, so then a coffee flask for something else. Yeah. But it is. I mean, we've got a sort of spare part scheme, so if you lose something or something breaks, we'll actually replace it for you for free. Right, that's nice. So it is. We have designed it to last, which can be a challenge. But there's everyone drinks water. Yeah. So that there is still quite a big limit in terms of who we can recruit. Yeah. So,
But I guess, like you said, you've got what are the products, the water bottle and the coffee flask. So I guess you've got a range of products, haven't you?
Yeah, we've got, people do have different preferences. So you kind of have to cater a bit to that. I mean, some people now carry around like jumbo 3-litre bottles. We haven't developed one of those yet. So heavier than your arm. Yeah. So we've got about 8 different products now that sort of interchange and you can use them for different things.
Should we talk about investment? Because you've raised a few million quid, haven't you, in investment. So do you want to talk about, because that's something that lots of people who watch this podcast are very interested in, particularly you're a purpose-driven business. So obviously you want to make sure your investors are bought into the purpose as well, don't you? So do you want to talk about how you've gone about getting investment and what your advice is?
Yeah, it's, investment is, it's one of those things that you have to do as a founder, unless you just go for the kind of full bootstrap route, which in hindsight might have been more enjoyable in some ways. Raising investment is incredibly hard. It always takes you longer than you think. Just like piecing it together and getting the right people around the table. But we have been really lucky that we've kind of held out for the right investors. So, I would say that our investors are they're majority impact investors. So for them, that means kind of an environmental return as well as a financial return. And a lot of them also understand kind of the fact that we're building a brand and that takes time. So yeah, we've been really lucky with the investors that we've got. I mean, they definitely push us, but that can often be in the right ways. So I don't often like to give a piece of advice, but because every case is different. But I really would say like hold out to finding the right investors that you actually get on with and that you want to kind of build this business with, because otherwise it can get quite challenging. I've heard from a lot of friends.
Yeah. So you're right. Particularly, a business like yours, you want them. They're not just in it for the money. You've obviously got to make sure they're in it for the cause.
Yeah. Otherwise, I think you'd start making a lot of short-term decisions. I mean, there's still that pressure. Like you have to be able to be a sort of sustainable business in the financial sense, and that there's even more pressure around that today. Like investors almost won't look at companies now if they don't have a route to profitability. So that is something that I think is becoming increasingly important.
I know you said you don't like to give advice on investment, but do you want to just talk about how you found them though? Because that is again another thing. You say holding out, but it's finding the investors in the first place and pitching them and getting in contact. So how did you go about that?
I think warm introductions always go a really long way, because you'll then it just starts the conversation off on a completely different footing. And early on when we started out, we didn't really know anyone. Like it was quite limited in terms of network and stuff. And so we actually joined an impact accelerator in Oslo.
Okay.
That was our sort of first round, if you like, so sort of pre-seed. And that was great because it helped build some more network and kind of, we went from there. And then the raise that we did after that, so that would have been our seed round. We were just knocking down doors. Like we were just like, they look interesting. Let's chat to them. So it really was, kissing a lot of different frogs. And seeing what stuck, and who it has to be a kind of, both have to be interested, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. What about your team? How many of you are in the business now? How have you gone about building a team? And again, what would be your advice on that?
Yeah, so we're about 40 people in London.
Right.
I think just shy of 40 people. We've got a great team. Honestly, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have done any of it without them. I think we've been lucky that we've sort of, in the hiring process, we've found people who are really passionate about the mission. But that's sort of taken shape in different ways. So like it might be that they're really interested in kind of the ocean and protecting the ocean. It might be that they're interested in plastic and kind of solving, plastic pollution. Or it might be actually that they're really interested in our social impact mission. So all of the collection projects that we do, we offer a fair income for the plastic that's collected, but also have a lot of social impact programs around the projects. So that can be a motivator, or just joining a kind of like, impact challenger brand that they want to be part of that journey. And I think people have often come from, different backgrounds. So some might have come from an FMCG brand where they maybe weren't so proud of what they were doing. So they've kind of jumped ship and joined us. Or some people have come from an impact brand previously. So yeah, finding the right people, and then just keeping that passion alive. So I think continuously reminding people why we're here, and the fact that if we displace kind of worse companies as a brand, then we're doing something good. So yeah, I think that's a part of it. But I do think that often in startup, having a big team can kind of be a vanity metric. You're like, oh yeah, massive team, and the output doesn't always come with the team growth.
How long? What period has that been to get to 40? How long you?
Well, I remember when we were 7. Right. I remember when we were 2. Right. So it was, my co-founder and I.
Right.
We had a couple of MBAs that we brought on as well, that we worked with. And then, we were sort of 7, and we were like a little family, which was just awesome.
Yeah.
Definitely. And then things really changed when we got to 20. I remember we had a sort of HR person join. And it was quite quick from there, actually. So we've stayed actually relatively flat at that level since we did our last fundraise, which was 2023, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is it like for you as that founder, though, seeing that? Because of what period, how many years is that from the 2 to now?
So we launched 2019.
Right. Okay.
So it's been a few years.
Yeah. But how is it? Thinking back to when it was you 2 in Oslo to now you're responsible for 40 people. And,
well, it's funny. Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it? I mean, we've so Nick my co-founder really loved the early days, like just being fast, scrappy, just us. And I actually really appreciated the kind of the later days. Stuff just happens and you're like, wow, that's amazing. I didn't even know about that. Or, you know, that to me is an amazing thing to see. And yeah, to see people kind of, you know, develop, get a promotion. Like our head of ops, she's been with us since that first year.
Right.
And, you know, she went from kind of ops manager all the way to, head of ops or ops director now.
Yeah, that must be nice as well. Yeah, to see how people have stayed for the journey, and you know.
And yeah, I think, you know, you have to be quite adaptable as well to move through that journey.
Absolutely. Big thanks to Vodafone Business for sponsoring this podcast as part of our business.connected campaign, which helps small businesses tap into the power of digital connectivity. With business.connected, get support on the technologies and digital business areas that can help you and your business work smarter. Grow online with expert guidance, peer insights, digital skills training, and smart connectivity solutions. To learn more, head to enterprisenation.com/business connected. You're also a B Corp, aren't you? Which obviously, you know, is a big increase. You know, it's becoming increasingly popular, but it's tough to become a B Corp, isn't it? The process is hardcore. But do you want to explain that, and you know how you've gone through that and what your advice would be in that area?
The UK actually has the highest number of B Corps in the world, which is kind of crazy when you consider, you know, like the size of the US, for example.
Yeah.
But maybe not so crazy when actually the UK is actually home to a lot of sort of impact focused brands and businesses. Every business should sort of recognize that they're not perfect. So, you know, even us as an Impact Perfect, we're still not at the goalposts, and there's always stuff that we can improve on, whether it's, you know, the footprint from our products, whether it's our sort of impact approach and how we fund projects, all the way through to our team. But what was really great about B Corp is it makes you look at kind of your stakeholder impact quite holistically, and probably in a more rigorous way than you might have done without that. So that actually did kind of help us develop now what is our sort of 4 impact pillars. So we've got ocean health, social good, climate action, and circularity. So those are kind of the areas that we're trying to push forward as a business. I think though that B Corp still is not like a silver bullet. If I was going to be a bit challenging, yeah, you can still be a B Corp that causes pollution. So, you know, you're not necessarily a completely sort of net positive business if you like, but you're definitely better than the alternative. So I would really encourage any business to do it. I think it's a really good framework, and like, yeah, helps you kind of improve across all those areas.
Do you think there are consumers? Do you know there are consumers that are looking, because you are a B Corp there, that gives them the reason to buy from you? Is it are you measuring that as a thing? Yeah, I don't have the exact number on kind of you know, what a B Corp certification means to consumers. You can probably find that out on their website. Yeah, true.
But you know, it is a known kind of stamp of approval, especially within kind of conscious consumer brands. And so for us, I mean, we've seen that 75% of consumers now in the UK, you know, want businesses and products to be doing more for the environment. And I think that actually kind of highlights one of the failures in the past, which has been that, you know, the expectation that individuals are going to solve the climate and nature crisis, I think is actually on businesses to make it possible for individuals to, you know, live a sustainable life. Obviously we have to do our part as well, consume less, buy less tat. But I think, you know, it's not all on individuals, basically. Businesses have got a big role to play.
I was going to ask you that. I mean, you did mention that, you know, the UK has the most B Corps, which is, you know, a positive thing. But what do you think generally how good British business is at sustainability and environment, you know, and what needs to be done, maybe even from a government level, and supporting businesses to do it?
Yeah, you know, I would say that, I mean, you know, it's a tough time in the UK. We're in a cost of living crisis. I would say that the majority of businesses are probably still focused on, you know, financial metrics, like how they're scaling their revenue, how they're scaling their profit, which is fine. But I think, you know, we kind of need to bring in the sustainability layer in a really meaningful way. You know, it's our belief that actually businesses who don't take this seriously and like really drive things forward for people and planet are kind of going to potentially get left behind. So I would say that there's a bit of a mindset shift that needs to happen. We need to think a bit further ahead. You know, the typical, I don't know how long the typical CEO is in a big corporate, but it might be 4 or 5 years. You know, they're not thinking about a 20, 30-year timeline.
Yeah.
And they're often thinking in a kind of damage reduction mindset. So like, how can we reduce the damage and pollution that we're causing, rather than how can we actually be a kind of positive business for the environment and for people.
That's a really good point. Partnerships has been like massively key to your success. You've worked with all sorts of, is it Netflix you've done stuff with, and all sorts of people you've worked with. And you said investors are partners. And so do you want to talk about partnerships and how you've created some of those? You know, you've worked with some massive partners and how it's benefited the business.
Yeah, well, I think we've definitely kind of thought as all of our customers as partners in a way, which kind of has been a nice mindset to have. But yeah, we've been really lucky. I mean, our products are fully customizable, which was either by design or luck. I'm not totally sure about that, but it has basically just allowed us to partner up with different brands, bring our mission to different audiences, and kind of scale our impact. So whether it's, I think Netflix was actually for their team, so sort of for their workforce, would have loved to actually work with their film stars, maybe in the future.
a Marvel ocean bottle or
exactly. But yeah, we've done the North Face for sort of the outdoor adventure audience. You love that. Through to all sorts of the collabs, but that's really helped scale the business, definitely.
Yeah, would you recommend that as a way to go for particularly?
Yeah, I think so. Like we launched as a direct to consumer company, and then you kind of realize how difficult that is. When you're selling a product that lasts for 10 years that people buy once, and then you've got the costs of like digital marketing, which kind of skyrocketed at the time that we were launching. And we probably should have realized quite early on. We had this, it was a Danish bank who was celebrating a big anniversary, and they said, hey, can we get 500 branded ocean bottles for our team? And sure, we're happy to pay for them a year before you deliver them. Wow. And actually we literally had like a paper mache sample of it. We hadn't even designed it yet. Right. And at that point, we probably should have known that would be a really great, that kind of like B2B to C approach of like, it's still all about the individual at the end who kind of gets the product and uses it. But actually partnering with companies has allowed us to do it, much more. Yeah.
So you are obviously selling on your website and stuff, but are you in retail or anything, or are you in physical retail? Are you selling through?
Yeah, so we've actually, up until quite recently, not really been in retail. Right. So we've had direct to consumer, which has been growing quite a lot, and the kind of partnership side. And then we finally kind of cracked our unit economics, because the product is really expensive to make because of the design, because of how we make it. But then also the cost of impact is super high as well. Going into a retail environment where they expect really high margins is being quite challenging. Yeah. But we've finally managed to kind of crack that. And so we're scaling up quite a lot in the US. So my co-founder, Nick's actually moved to New York and is busy signing up some big retailers out there, which is quite exciting. Yeah.
Okay. Why have you decided, why was the US where you'd go for that? Is it just finding the opportunities?
It's honestly just so big. Yeah. And people always say like, you got to try and crack America. And then it's actually incredibly hard to do that. And, I think if we'd kind of thrown the kitchen sink at it, we might have completely failed, and it could have had some disastrous consequences. But actually, him going out there trying to kind of push things forward in a founder way, I think is working quite well. But yeah, just the scale there. One retail chain might have 1,000 doors, which is just a lot bigger than here. Yeah,
absolutely. Have you got any inspiration? Are there any entrepreneurs that have inspired you along the way in this journey that you've been on?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, there's so many. Like, I'm surrounded by kind of these incredible impact entrepreneurs all the time, and we're actually doing a new initiative where we're sort of bringing together the most ambitious companies and solutions for climate and nature. So in there we've got brands like Allbirds, Viva Barefoot, through to Tony's Chocolonely, Ecosia, which is the world's largest tree planting platform. through to like more technical solutions. So we've got companies like Notpla who make packaging from seaweed. All sorts of amazing kind of stuff going on. And the ambition is to sort of bring them together with the leaders of the world's largest companies so that they can collaborate and learn from each other. And so we can kind of lobby those leaders a little bit. But yeah, so I would say I'm continuously inspired by them. And that also gives me a lot of hope for the future, because otherwise it's looking a bit dire out there.
Yeah, tough times.
But if I was going to pick one, I mean, it'd have to be Richard Branson.
Right.
I think he was definitely an inspiration in the lead up to Ocean Bottle. And just a fascinating journey.
Lovely. And just finally, in the end, it's often the question at the end of these, what is your ultimate tip? Maybe specifically for a mission-led business, what would your recommendation be to an entrepreneur?
I would just say, try and pick one global challenge. And that can probably be big enough.
Yeah, that's true. Just one.
Yeah, just one. Just tackle one global challenge. I think just try and take on a global challenge and build a business model that kind of drives the solution forward in that space. What's really exciting is that it's amazing how many people want to come and get involved and support because you're doing that. If you're lucky, you'll tackle the whole challenge. I mean, there's no way we're going to tackle the whole challenge of ocean plastic, but we'll definitely try and make it as big of a dent as possible. So I would say if you want to do mission led, I'd do that. Yeah.
Entrepreneurs can save the world. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, damn right.
Well, thank you so much for joining me on the Small Business Sessions.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You've been watching Enterprise Nation's Small Business Sessions podcast powered by Vodafone Business as part of our business.connected campaign. For free digital skills training, head to enterprisenation.com/business-connected or search business.connected. Don't forget to like the video, share it, and subscribe to our channel. We'll see you next time.